这个故事如果你听起来不累，那么你的听力水平在生活中是完全够用的。要持续提升英文，记得点击订阅按钮。我们开始吧。
He felt like every word he said could crack the floor under his feet. In a small house with thin walls and a wooden kitchen table, a boy learned how to stay very quiet. His father's boots were heavy. You could hear them from the end of the street. When those boots hit the porch, the whole house seemed to hold its breath. The boy's mother would stop washing dishes. The radio would go silent. Even the dog would slide under the couch. The boy once asked his mother why everyone got so still. She bent down and whispered, "Because we don't want to step on anything that breaks." At first he thought she meant plates or glasses. Later he understood she meant something else. Words. Feelings. Pride. Anger. All of it felt as thin as eggshells scattered across the floor. Long before that boy was born, people were already using eggshells to talk about fear. In old farm towns, eggs were gold. A cracked egg meant no chick, no food, no money. Kids were told to carry baskets with 2 hands. Move slow. Watch your step. A broken shell was not just a mess. It was loss. Over time, the image grew bigger. In crowded houses, in small ships crossing the sea, in factories with loud bosses, people learned how to move with care. They learned how to read faces fast. A tight jaw meant danger. A long sigh meant stay quiet. A small joke at the wrong time could break more than trust. By the late 1800s, the phrase began to show up in print. Writers spoke of men who had to walk on eggshells around harsh leaders. Wives wrote in letters about husbands who changed with the wind. Workers spoke in low voices about supervisors who smiled in the morning and shouted by noon. The picture was clear. The ground felt covered in shells. One wrong step, and everything cracked. Back in that small house, the boy grew skilled at reading storms before they hit. He could tell by the way the key turned in the lock. If it scraped hard, the night would be long. If it turned soft, there was hope for peace. One evening, he made a mistake. He left his shoes by the door. The boots hit the porch. The key turned sharp. The door opened. His father tripped. The sound that followed was louder than thunder. The boy stood frozen. He felt as if he were standing on a floor covered in white shells. He chose each word like he was placing his feet. "I'm sorry," he said, soft and slow. His father's face was red. For a moment, it seemed the shells would shatter anyway. Then something strange happened. His father looked down at the shoes. He looked at the boy. His shoulders dropped. "Pick them up," he said, not yelling now. "Next time, be careful." The storm passed. The shells did not break. That night the boy lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. He began to see the truth. Maybe the floor was not really covered in shells. Maybe fear had painted that picture in his mind. Maybe some steps were safe. The phrase kept spreading through books and speech. By the early 1900s, it was common in homes and offices. Teachers said they felt like they were walking on eggshells around strict parents. Clerks said the same about sharp managers. Children used it for friends who could turn cold without warning. Eggshells are thin. They look strong until you press them. Then they break with almost no force. That is what makes the phrase powerful. It shows how little it takes to cause trouble when someone's mood rules the room. Years later, the boy became a man. He moved to a new city. He worked in a store where the owner was quick to anger. The old feeling came back. He would check his words before speaking. He would laugh at jokes he did not find funny. He would stay late even when he was tired, afraid that leaving on time would be seen as lazy. One afternoon, a glass jar slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. The sharp sound cut through the store. Every head turned. The owner walked over, face tight. The man felt that old floor under him again. Eggshells everywhere. "I'll clean it up," he said, already bending down. The owner stood there for a second. Then he grabbed a broom. "Happens to everyone," he said. No yelling. No storm. The man paused. Something shifted inside him. For years he had believed he was always one step away from disaster. Yet here he was, standing on solid ground. That night he thought about the phrase that had shaped so much of his life. Walk on eggshells. It had started with real eggs, with farmers and baskets and the need to protect what was fragile. It grew into a picture of fear, of careful steps in rooms filled with tension. But eggshells are not everywhere. Sometimes they are only in the mind. Sometimes they are placed there by old memories. The man began to test the ground. He spoke up when he had ideas. He said no when he was too tired. Not in a rude way, but in a clear voice. Each time he did, he waited for the crack. Often, it never came. He still met people who made rooms feel tight. He still saw faces that warned of storms. In those moments, the phrase helped him. It reminded him to be thoughtful, to choose kindness over sharp words. There is wisdom in stepping with care when the ground is fragile. Yet he also learned another lesson. If you spend your whole life walking as if the floor will break, you never run. You never dance. You never trust that the ground can hold you. Think about your own steps. Maybe there is someone in your life who makes you measure every word. Maybe you feel that small fear before you speak. Your heart beats fast. Your mind searches for the safest path. Ask yourself where those eggshells came from. Are they real and fresh under your feet? Or are they pieces from long ago that you still see on the floor? The phrase has lived for over a century because it tells a simple truth. Words can hurt. Tempers can crack trust. Care matters. At the same time, courage matters too. You are not meant to tiptoe forever. You are not meant to shrink your voice to keep the peace. A strong house can handle footsteps. A strong heart can handle honest words. The boy in the small house grew into a man who learned to walk steady. The boots no longer ruled the room. The sound of a key in a lock no longer froze his breath. The floor was wood, not shells. When you hear someone say they are walking on eggshells, you now know the long path behind those words. From farm baskets to tight kitchens, from factory floors to quiet offices. The image has carried fear across time. But it can also carry hope. Because once you see the shells for what they are, you can choose how to step. Maybe you start with one firm foot on the ground. Maybe you lift your head a little higher. Maybe you speak one honest sentence you have been holding back. And when the floor does not crack, you will feel it. Solid ground has been under you all along.
能以非母语者的身份专注学习到现在，这本身就是很棒的进步。真诚感谢你的观看。如果你觉得本期内容实用，点赞或留言让我知道你的想法，这对我持续创作非常重要。我们下期见。